And here.
And we're here. We are here. Live
from New York. No, we're not in New York.
Like we always are.
It's
just
I like the
waiting.
vibe.
Vibe is good.
It
Yeah, I
actually feels
kinda
like we're in
a therapy
therapy. No?
Yeah. I like therapy.
So
You like therapy?
I love
Have
therapy.
you done therapy?
I've done therapy all my life. Yeah, I love.
Yeah.
I love it.
So it's been a good experience.
Oh man, it was always like my when I was in school, like to get out of class, it was the best.
You'd go to the counselor's office?
Always. My counselor was like my homegirl. Because every time I got in trouble, every time I was late, I would just go to her and she would give me the counselor card and it was good. It was good.
Get out of jail free card.
Yeah. No, but it's funny. After high school, I never went to therapy again. I was a wild kid. That's why. I had a lot of energy.
Jeremiah, are we on?
I had a lot of artistic.
We've been on? Oh, hi.
Hey!
No way.
Yes, we are live and direct like we always are.
Dude, like every week it just gets worse. It gets worse every week. Like
it's fine.
we don't realize that we're on.
Give them your handles. Give them your handles. I'm just kidding.
No, but seriously.
Hey, we are.
Welcome back to Nightlife Entrepreneurs Podcast.
Yes.
Today we have something different.
Yeah.
We have somebody who is not in the nightlife. Yes, was at some point, but not currently in the nightlife. Although she was part of the nightlife in our
we're therapy people. We're in therapy.
as a client for a long time. But today we have Catalina Fortich as a. You gotta say it yourself because
Okay. What my title
get
is?
it wrong every time.
Okay, so my name's Catalina Fortich, and I have a master's in marriage and family therapy.
Wow.
And I am practicing. Private practice is in Broward. Servicing all of the Broward.
There you go.
Awesome.
And actually, I have some people that drive up from Miami-Dade, so I should shout out to Miami-Dade.
So a lot of happy couples up there and non-happy couples.
No, just whoever feels has their name has they've gotten me and they wanted to come to me. They've driven up. I have people from referrals from Homestead. I have
Wow.
So, I say Broward because it's more convenient, I think.
Hey, but you were in the nightlife, right? So.
I did events I was in PR originally.
Okay.
And then I did events for a long time. I even worked with Univision and the Latin Grammys, and I did a lot of events for a long time.
But so you guys know, we didn't invite her on the show today to talk about the nightlife as much, although we're gonna get a little bit into what you did at the beginning. But the main reason we invited Catalina actually now. Cata is
that's my professional name.
I know.
Party day name.
Let's keep it professional, please.
So she's here today to talk about what she does nowadays. So we want to talk about relationships in the nightlife industry. Which in the end, I guess a lot of this is gonna apply to other people in different businesses. I understand. Some of it is gonna be directed only to nightlife entrepreneurs. So
I'm curious, man. I want to know it all.
It's one of those. I think when Facebook invented the "it's complicated" thing.
Hey, is it better?
It was due to this
Yes,
business.
I have so many questions. I can't wait. Let me know. Hey, so where could people follow you or get in contact with you?
On Facebook, Catalina Fortich MS. And then on Instagram, Catalina_Fortich_MS.
Fortich
so MS stands for master.
Fortich. For those of you who haven't heard it before.
That's a hard one to.
And you'll see it down there if you're watching the video.
Julio, let
you
people
find
know how
us at The Nightlife Entrepreneur on Instagram. You find Aiko at
Aiko Taps Beer and also at the Doral Food and Wine Festival.
And we want to thank LMG Miami and Cusqueña
for being here.
I get to have another one. I drank in the last episode.
Our production
therefore I was
crew.
Quiet.
Production crew is growing, man.
Thank you, all of you.
Hey, Alejandra.
All of you. It's actually.
I love you.
There's actually a crowd today.
Better. And you.
My kids are in the crowd.
They are in the crowd.
Hey, and our makeup artists.
Yes, there you go.
The Nicholas brothers are here.
So the crew is growing.
Nicholas.
So Cata, let's start with where you began, and you actually did work a little bit in the industry.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you did.
Okay, so I don't know. I don't want to go. I don't even know what 2005 I graduated, but I've been working. I haven't worked with you. I worked with you doing a little bit of nightlife stuff.
Sorry.
I was about to ask you, is that why you became a therapist?
Or why you left?
I was traumatized.
Was that what motivated you to go into therapy?
Yeah, I think more than anything was having a family that made me say, okay, I need to change gears. I was doing events. I take my hat off to Julio. I think he just told me he does like 250 events a year. I do big events like yours, like the food and wine, and it would be like a big production for a couple months, and then you have a break in between. But with kids and everything, and I was giving free advice to my friends, and I'm like, why am I giving free advice to my friends? I'm gonna go back to school.
But party advice or
like family advice and relationship advice.
Just like
I had a minor in psychology, and I did PR. I had a minor in psychology, and then I said I'm gonna go back to school, and then I looked in to see what master's programs there were. I was thinking of going for PR, but then I found it kind of fell on my lap, and I fell in love with even the classes that were in there, like couples therapy and what else? I don't even remember what I was studying. I did a whole bunch of different things.
Just studying the mind and how people think and all that.
How people think, how they behave, all that stuff. So I fell in love with it, and I don't think I made a mistake. I'm really happy.
Well, yeah, if you have people from Homestead.
All right, so if what took you from the industry to what you do now was having a family, then that must mean that it's hard to have a family in this industry, and if you're seeing it not only from the therapist point of view, but
and this has its difficulties too. I mean, I see clients in the evening, so it's not easy. I think every industry, I think it's the common topic. That's why there's a million mom influencers out there, and that's why there's so many life coaches, and we're saturated with that because everyone's trying to find their balance. Everybody's everyone's stressed out. I mean, you can't look at the news without mental health being, I'm glad it's a topic now, but there's a lot going on, and everyone's trying to find their balance, what works for them. I could have either gone into therapy or studied therapy, and thankfully studying therapy was as helpful or maybe more than going to therapy for me. For other people, that's not the track they want to take. So I'm not saying everybody become a therapist, but I do think that understanding oneself, having insight, and understanding, your strengths, your weaknesses, and how to communicate better with others absolutely changed and maybe my kids will vouch for me. Have I become a better mom? They say that I talk too much now, but
that's fine.
But I think it did change my relationships with a lot of people. Some even for the worse, because I had to step back and not be. I think people are kind of like, who's that Nukata? Like, I think it's meeting me all over again.
It is different.
It's different.
Do you find
do you find me different?
Yeah, do you find her being different?
In a way, I guess. I
Besides,
respect what you're doing 100%, and I actually think that you were somebody always that was giving advice to all your friends.
You were very was that like a motherly nature thing, or was it just that you just had that kind of vibe where people gravitated towards you and they were like,
I saw a line yesterday that it was, I didn't change, I just found myself.
Ooh, yes, I would say that too. I could say that too. I think I grew up in the process.
To me, believe me, right now, what I'm doing today, like for example with this podcast, the book, the courses and teaching and building a brand, etc. A lot of people are making fun of me, like, what does this guy think? Like, who made him the expert or whatever?
Wait until you see us at CNN.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the way I feel is exactly that. It's like, like I was done with that,
branch.
but I realized that there was a lot more to give, and I needed to change it, so that I could get to that.
I mean, life is a constant change. To expect somebody not to change is actually the problem, because we're meant to adapt and evolve, just like every other living thing. Our relationships have to evolve. That's where we get stuck.
True.
That's where we get stuck.
How do you feel about nowadays that it's kind of like in style to become a coach? Like nowadays, I feel like everyone is a coach.
Yes.
And everyone is just throwing advice out there.
Yes.
And that has to do with social media. That has to do with many things now that are so easy to project. You just get on a phone and you just give advice. But you have not studied that. How do you feel about that?
That's a loaded question for me because it's a good question to ask. I professionally have my own thoughts about that, but at the same time, I've also kind of adopted to call myself a relationship coach as well.
Okay.
And I'll explain now. So the difference between a therapist can handle much heavier things, mental health issues, and that can be a social worker, mental health counselor, or a marriage and family therapist, or a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist. All of them can do therapy and work with really, obviously, a psychiatrist can medicate. So if you want medication, don't go to a therapist. We can't medicate you. Can we diagnose? Yes, we can. Can we?
Oh, you could diagnose.
Yes, I can diagnose. Yes.
Okay. This person.
Yes, this one has. There's some things that need further assessment, like ADHD or autism. All those things need further, assessment. But I can definitely diagnose a depression or any of that stuff. So a coach is not meant to handle that kind of stuff. Can they help with, I haven't quite found myself, like that question. Like, absolutely, a coach can help you with that. If they have their own
coach is more motivation.
They might have an expertise, like you coach can literally call yourself, and they're more direct. They can say things maybe that a therapist would be more tentative about saying. I'll say this. When I went to orientation to become a therapist, my clinical director of the program, she sat us all down, room full of eager beavers ready to become therapists, and she said, if you came here to give advice, you're in the wrong profession. And we all like, what? Then what am I doing here? And the process of becoming a therapist really humbles you to realize you are not, and I even said that to Julio Mario when we spoke on the phone, I'm not an expert in anyone's life. You are the expert in your life. I'm here to help you find that thing that's lost, to maybe have an objective view of something that you're stuck in because it's too close to you. Like, you put a book in front of you, it's this close, you can't see it objectively. If I'm sitting over here and I'm hearing you and I'm seeing the dynamic between you and your partner, I'm going to pick up on things that you just you don't see because it's too close to you. You're too emotionally involved in it.
What's the difference between calling your best friend and going to a therapist? A lot of people sometimes, they feel that once you they're afraid to call a therapist. They feel that once you get to that step, it's almost, I don't know if they feel, I would say they're intimidated. I'm very about, like, hey, if you have a problem, just go to a therapist,
Right.
Some people feel that that's too serious, like, no, man, if I go to a therapist,
like, there's something wrong with me if I go to a therapist, or I don't want to admit that I go to a therapist, all those things. But staying on the coach part that you asked, I think also people should stick to what they know, and so if you're an expert on something and you want to be a coach on that, whatever your expertise are, that's good. Now, being a life coach and thinking that you can guide everybody the right direction, you probably can't. Motivating, that's cool. Why not? We make this a better world if we wake up and we give people, what we think is good advice in the morning. But
and there's a lot of great coaches out there. Don't get me. I want to just clarify that there's great coaches out there. Some of them are even clinical psychologists or have doctorates in their own country, and they just don't want to come here and go through the hassle of getting licensed here. So they may have very much the expertise. They just don't, so you do your research, basically. Bottom line, do your research. Make sure, maybe if it's a referral, if it worked for a friend of yours and there's a therapist that has a good referral, or do your research. See what it is that their expertise is in and what their background is.
So how long have you been a family therapist?
Okay, so I graduated 2 years ago.
Okay.
And doing therapy 3 years, because you actually do it while you're still in the program.
Okay.
You do therapy.
Right, and I'm asking you just because I'm wondering if relationships were worse before. Like, I don't know. I think today, we're dealing with so many
changes,
things. We're living in a very fast-paced world. Rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
But I saw on the news depression is up, you know, suicide is up, you know, what's happening, you know, is it social
30%
media?
from 1999 to 2018 in like I don't know how many different states. I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy, and so, how do you feel when you see that news? Do you feel that people are not taking the steps they're supposed to? Was he supposed to
do something?
Was he supposed to, you know? And I know you're a couples therapist, so when do you feel?
This got real deep, real slow.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want my beer
even
anymore.
on my list of questions.
I know, right? Like, when for a for a couple.
When is it time to go to therapy?
For a couple. And let me ask you this: do couples that are not having any problems ever go to therapy?
Like, no,
they don't.
They
right?
should.
Like, they should.
Yeah.
Go to therapy without having issues.
I would say go to therapy before you get married, and like do the. But here's the thing: I don't know how other religions are. I know the Catholics go to premarital. They have courses. And those are great. They're just not very lengthy. Like you know, you have a weekend maybe. I would go beforehand.
Which was one of the most amazing things I've ever done. Like,
I would love to get my hands on somebody that's not married yet and wants to.
I was just going to ask you.
I would love it. I would love it. They don't come in. Who gets through my door is when the
already with the problem.
Have escalated.
Hey, now you know.
Things have escalated. They don't talk to each other. You know, they're stuck, and they're very hopeless.
So people are having issues.
So
people are having issues before they're already married.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily. I think that the things that you kind of, it depends. I got married after 3 months of knowing my husband.
Right.
You know that.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Wow.
You know,
this is 15 years
when
and 2 kids later.
Yeah, I know.
No, actually,
you were like, hey, let me give you some advice. Marry me. It's like, okay.
Some of the best marriage advice was my husband before I was a therapist.
Okay.
And he's like, we both got on this boat and we're gonna keep rowing and nobody's getting off this boat. And so you figure it out. And so that was it. That was him. And so every time things got bad, and now luckily I have the tools because I'm a therapist. Exactly. I utilize my tools, and now I can have an argument with him, and it's not the end of the world, and all this, because I was 21 also when I got married, so super young.
Right.
But now it's not the end of the world. But that little phrase, like this, that was like our motto. Like I would say, sit down with your partner and get a mission statement. Like, what is our motto as a couple? And for my husband and I, it was, we're both in this boat, and there's no land in sight, and we're gonna row no matter what. You're not putting down your rows, I'm not putting down my row. And that got us through everything for the first year. Wow. Kids, and
I would have made sure that boat had beer.
Right?
I was like, hey, sir, who's Kenya on the boat?
Hey, so
that's a good, you know, do a mission statement for your partner, and like, you know, just help that be your guiding, you know, motto for when things get a little difficult.
Catalina, coming back to the.
You can call me Cata.
There you go. No, and I have a beer in my hand.
No.
Has the whole Catalina.
We're in therapy, all right? So
exactly. Catalina. It just feels like we're in therapy.
I would let my clients call me Cata if they felt more comfortable. Absolutely.
But coming a little into the nightlife. For some reason, in the nightlife industry, we prohibit relationships within co-workers.
You do.
I mean, I know it happens probably in other industries, but in this one, it's very, very common.
So you tell your client.
Well, no, they don't prohibit it. They just mention. It's just.
Well, some places actually go as far as saying it's not possible. You guys are dating. Who's out? You know.
Oh, one of you has
exactly. Like, or it just you have to hide it. It happens more than often. You know, it happens too often. You know. And there's a lot of cash involved, and there's alcohol involved, and there's, you know, a lot of personal relations. You know, so you got to be taking care of clients. If you have an issue, you bring it to work. And this is hospitality business. You need to be smiling all the time. What if you had a fight with the bartender and you're the barback? And all those kinds of things.
Gotcha.
It's complicated.
So you tell your employees, you prefer that your employees not have relationships? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying it's me. I'm saying it's in general in the industry. It is prohibited. I think
that's a common.
Very.
In businesses, usually they say you shouldn't mix business with pleasure, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, that's a different way of seeing it, because that's another
I'm
part
only
of
gonna
it.
say yes.
Like the two of us here, we both our wives work with us.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
And we do amazing, I think.
Yeah, we're doing great.
I mean,
we got like 11 kids.
I haven't been slapped like in what, like a week?
You guys are going great. 11 kids work together. Yeah. I take my hats off to you guys because working with your partners.
No, we got 9 kids amongst the 3 of us.
11th episode, 11 kids.
We have 9.
Yeah.
Right.
Between the 3 of us?
Yes.
You have 3?
Oh, yes.
No, I have
4.
3.
You have 4. Oh, you just...
And you have 2.
Oh, you're a rock star.
Yeah.
So what we do not have here is a master in mathematics.
Why I'm a therapist.
It's all right, man. 11th episode, 11 kids.
So anyway, I was just wondering if you had a deeper thought into why it is that is usually forbidden or prohibited or not allowed or whatnot.
I mean,
like there is something more than what I just mentioned. With
I don't know if it's.
I love it. I want to get to the juicy part. Like, talk to me about.
So the question is,
the
why is that like a thing in the industry? You shouldn't mix relationships and business.
No,
let's call it
do you
that.
advise it?
But have you ever followed that advice?
Oh, have I followed the advice?
Oh, no.
No, okay. And it worked out sometimes, right?
It worked out this time.
Yeah, so here's why I say that. I don't think that there's rules to that kind of thing.
Let me interrupt.
Yeah.
It's not an issue with the relationship. It's an issue with the work.
Yeah, it'll complicate
And it's not, like, for example, in my case, me owning my company and my wife working with me, we work together is one thing.
Yes.
It's not
it's cool.
It's not, for example, people that are listening, there might be a bartender girl who is dating a bar back guy or girl.
Which happens a lot, right?
Listen,
in this
happens. I don't think
everything happens nowadays.
You spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, like exactly. That's one thing. They're spending a lot of time together. They're having drinks. They're normally having a good time together, but mostly the fact that they're spending a lot of time together brings them together. But still, it is pushed a lot for it to not happen, and people do lose their jobs for that. I mean, so I'm just wondering if there's something deeper in there.
Yeah, how do you feel about it?
I mean, I think that's the old adage of don't mix business with pleasure. I keep hearing, you know what I mean? And that's just that kind of phrase, like let's keep it that way so that it doesn't get complicated. You human beings are unpredictable, and attraction is something that is inevitable, right? So it's going to happen, and we have a saying that in therapy, like nothing's a problem until it's a problem. So it may not be a problem until it's a problem, and then you have to address that.
Right.
I mean, can you prohibit you can have as a boss like that request of all your employees, like don't mix, but I mean, how many are going to really follow it?
Right.
And then they can lose their job. I mean, that's individually, each person has to weigh whether they're, is it going to get complicated? Again, that's each individual couple, how they manage things, where they're at in their life, where their relationship is, how secure they are in their relationship. So many variables.
You think that maybe if it were the case that it was accepted, maybe venues, places like us should provide people like you, for example, for those couples. I mean, even though they're not married, but they are working together.
You know what? There's a lot of companies that now are hiring therapists to just come and speak to their employees. Is that a plus?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you advise that to those club owners and stuff like that?
Yeah, any business. Yeah.
If you see your bartenders and your wait staff and everybody kind of like mingling too much and just getting along too much, let me bring in a therapist who's gonna kind of like.
I mean, if they're getting along too much, that's not a problem.
That's not a problem. But like
no, he means too much.
Yeah, too much. Too much. Where they're not paying attention to the customer because they're kind of like winking at each other and.
Yeah.
It's usually the opposite factor. Like when two people are dating in this industry, they're not showing the good part. What they're showing is when they have issues, when they have fights.
Got it.
When they're angry and they're like, don't worry, I don't want to talk about it.
That's when it becomes a problem.
That's when it becomes a problem.
Hey, looking
at it from an owner's
perspective. What's the most common problem that you kind of say like, wow, that's happening a lot in couples therapy? You know, is it commonly jealousy? Is it commonly
not feeling understood?
Not feeling understood.
And that communication.
And that's based on communication.
Learning how to have disagreements that don't escalate to, because again, remember, they come to me when it's already escalated and they're not talking and they're really stressed out and about what's going on in the relationship. So I would say communication is everything. So that's one of the first things a couples therapist works on or assesses to see how well are they communicating, what are those points of like conflict, what are the common themes that keep coming up, and a lot of the time it's that they're not listening to each other. Like everyone's ready with their answer, that their go-to answer for something. Everybody wants to defend themselves. Everybody wants to win an argument, right?
Yes.
So you come into it and the other one's already like on the defensive. Yeah. And then the other partner is also on the defensive because they're like, we've had this argument before. And so it just becomes almost like a hamster wheel kind of conversation that doesn't get anywhere. So the first thing I would
you might
like
get to a point where you don't even know what the hell you were arguing about.
Yes,
that
you
can
don't.
happen a lot, right?
You don't, all the
imagine.
time. And it's not huge things. Thankfully, great. That's awesome. That there's couples. I have a lot of couples that come in and they're like, nobody's had an infidelity or nobody's basically it's how they're communicating. And then I just want to help them figure out how to communicate better. And I tell them, look, I'm not here to tell you you're never going to have another fight. I just want you to get to a place where you're going to have an argument and that you know how to come out of it unscathed and not feeling hopeless.
You think there's a way out or a way back from infidelity into a good relationship?
Absolutely. There's this really great therapist. I love her. Her name's Esther Perel. She talks a lot about sex, relationships, infidelity.
What did you say?
Her name? What's her name?
No. What does she talk about?
Oh, sex, relationships. What is it?
Sorry, we just said we were not going to talk about sex today.
And she says,
but we will at some point.
Yes.
There's two routes you can go after infidelity. It's either the nail in the coffin that, did it for the relationships that are done, or it's an opportunity to rebuild something that wasn't working and start from ground up. Like, okay, we need to heal first, obviously. You can't just, so that happened. And,
do you give them like exercises and stuff like that?
You have to heal first. So
and this is another thing. I know women learned to maybe accept it and do all those things that you're saying and forgive and forget and let it go. Yeah. Now, how about men? Have you seen men forgiving infidelity? Because that's a whole other monster for some reason. I see like three faces over there and somebody's about to slap somebody else over there. But
everyone over there has a...
¿Qué te pasó a ti?
Yes, there's men that forgive infidelity or that stay
sure
after.
there are
yes,
some.
There are.
Is it harder?
I don't know if it's harder. I think it's hard on everybody. I think infidelity is. Why do we get so hurt? It's because our emotional security is jeopardized. Our everything is jeopardized, and there's this deep betrayal that we feel. So, at that point, man or woman, like a major healing has to happen before anything else. But actually, Esther Perel will say most couples stay together after infidelities. Okay. And most of the couples that she sees, because she works so much with infidelity, I work more with a little bit of everything. I have clients who are in recovery. I worked actually for 3 years with drug addiction in recovery world. So just helping them kind of recover from that, because I even look at addiction as an infidelity, because there was this third element, the addiction, that kept that person from the other person. So I almost treat sometimes those couples like there was this infidelity that we need to heal from, because your addiction was stronger than in your life at that moment, had more of attention or focus than your partner.
Now that you mention addiction, that's another issue in this industry. I mean, we are thankful to be, working with a group of people that are like extremely clean, you know, and I mean, you've known us and everybody that works with us and the different venues. And there's a very, you know, clean side of this business. I mean,
there's another side.
That other side that a lot of people see, you know, there's a lot of drugs and there's, you know, of course, there's alcohol, you know, of course. We're drinking on a Tuesday. But that also affects a lot of the relationships, you know, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, even alcohol, and I'll talk about alcohol specifically because I partied in your parties when I was younger. And make no mistake, alcohol is a mood and mind altering substance. So you're not running on all your logical senses, you know, you are under the influence of something. So you're not going to, you know,
react the same.
Yeah, you're not
gonna get home if you're having a problem. And
you're not. That's not the time to sit down and have a mature adult couples conversation when both of you are.
Do you
drinking.
ever have clients of yours that come into therapy under an influence? It could
couples.
be smoking,
no, I mean, remember, I see individuals too.
Okay.
So that hasn't really been an issue again because I worked with recovery. They were in treatment, so luckily they were not under the influence. And you can't have therapy with somebody under the influence because they're not. Again, just like you won't argue with them, you're not going to have an insightful conversation with somebody that's under the influence. But I think you're right. I think a lot of people, as far as I saw a lot of my clients work in maybe not so much nightlife, but they worked a lot in hospitality, restaurants, stuff like that.
Right.
Because it's easy for them. It's easy access to money. They're gonna get their cash that day.
Right.
You know, and people in the back in the kitchen, like there's such intensity there that some of them do resort to that.
Alcohol, infidelity, drugs, boom. There's a phrase. I mean, and I think all those have to do with the phrase. There's a phrase I hear all the time, and I actually heard it from you today before we sat down over here.
What was it?
And it's the usual. Oh, his wife is a saint. Oh, like I wouldn't marry a guy in this business. You know, there's no way. Like
who's a saint?
Yeah, like. You know,
that
you hear a lot.
Who, like your wife.
Oh my God, your wives must be saints. You know, they take this.
They're saints and they marry like
patience.
The double.
Patience. Oh, patience.
No, the patience and you know.
I hear a lot. I hear that
like
phrase a
people
lot.
Comment like, oh, your wife, she you know,
oh my God, she must be so good, man. Putting up with
and
your
then you kind of think like, I'm not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, no, the new me is not. You know, I mean, I might have been an ass when I was younger, of course. We all grow, we all mature, and definitely being in this business helped me be a better ass.
I applaud them,
you know,
for looking into us.
And definitely the right woman, you know, for sure, and the kids and the family and a lot of things that make it, you know, that you just grow in general and life, seriously. But the point is, a lot of people do see this as a difficult, you know, business for relationships. Like those that are outside of the industry. I'm not talking about those of us that are in the industry, but the ones that are outside. The ones that are in the industry end up finding somebody in the industry easier. But the ones that are not in the industry, it's hard for them to actually understand the ones that are. Kind of like, you know, actors, actresses.
And I was going to say that. Every industry, there's different, like, let's say if you married a military person, that's not great. You have your partner overseas in combat. Like, there's a lot of relationships.
Yeah, when you marry, those people that marry
there's difficult.
Say more negative things about other people.
I know, right?
No, there's a lot of relationships. That's why, you know, it's so hard to like give an umbrella statement because every relationship is so. That's why therapy, when you have somebody in front of you, you got to really do your homework, and be almost like an investigator. Like, what's in your life? What's unique about your relationship? What are you working? What are you working? What are your your complaints or each perspective? Because each one has their thing that somebody might love. Somebody might love that they're married to somebody that their husband's overseas half of the year because maybe they might like that, and you know, or they get used to that, or you know, everybody has their things. Everybody has their things.
When you were working the nightlife, right?
Yeah.
And you were producing,
event.
Producing and working events.
I got to be home
and
at
stuff
night.
like that. Did you see? Was your circle of friends? Did you see a lot of relationships growing, splitting? How was your what did you see? And did that have anything to do with you saying, you know what, let me go into therapy because I kind of like giving advice, and I kind of like, you know, I want to know more about what it is that makes people react that way.
I think I always was inclined and curious about, you know, how that part works. I think more so than, luckily all my friends are married and they've had great relationships, and you know, we've had the same tips, you know, that every other relationship has. You guys figuring it out?
We're over here.
They've had this, you know, the regular run-of-the-mill kind of conflicts with their partners. So I would say, I think it came more so because my parents got a divorce. So I wanted to understand that, and it was more.
You wanted to understand.
Yeah,
that.
I wanted to understand, and my marriage. I wanted to understand my marriage too, but it was I think it goes back to what Julio said. I feel like events. I was good at it. I was just telling Alejandra over there. We're giving so many shout outs to Alejandra. That I was good at it. I'm really good at logistics. I'm really good at putting out fires. I'm really good at all that, but it wasn't fulfilling to me. I feel fulfilled when a client tells me, thank you, or, you know, you helped me so much. That,
I could imagine.
I wish I could just pay my bills on
Which,
gratitude.
by the way, that's what bartenders do. I don't know if people know, but that's really one of their jobs. You know, they're also therapists. You know, I mean, a good bartender is here to listen, for sure. And they do tend to give advice. You know?
They do. But that's the thing about therapy. And I think I'll go back to a question you said a long time ago. You're like, what's the difference between going to my friend and my therapist?
Yes. I'm glad you came back to that.
Your friend is going to listen. I have the best friends in the world, and he'll vouch for me on that.
Shout out to our best friends.
I've had the same friends for more than 20 years, and they are amazing. They, you know, don't underestimate the power of a friend, of a good friend. You're gonna need them, but then sometimes they're too close to the problem too.
They're too close.
And they have their own biases that they're bringing in. I'm trained, and I've done a lot of work on checking my biases. Like, I might have this bias on divorce. Like, I might think it's a bad thing to get a divorce because of my experiences. So will my friends. Everybody has their biases. But as a therapist, I check my biases at the door, and I'm here for this relationship. But I have the training to do that, to not influence your decision. Your friend's going to tell you, leave him. Or, you know, he did it again to you. Or you should marry him. You know, they're going to influence and give, because that's, unless you have a really good friend that's really good and is very emotionally aware, has a lot of emotional intelligence. And I have a lot of friends like that. Those women are, you know, they should have been therapists.
Yeah, but how do you know who to listen to and who not to listen to? In the end, it's
the friend that's not giving you advice.
The one that
sends you to the therapist.
The one that's listening to you and asking you questions more than telling you.
True.
Your therapist, if your therapist is telling you,
that's where you get the big chair. You guys listen.
That's why I get paid.
You just sit here.
if your therapist is telling you more than asking you, then no.
Yeah, there's something wrong.
They need to be taking out of you what's in there. It's in there. You know what you want, and you know what you don't want. The thing is that we hyper focus on what we don't want. And we don't focus enough on what we do want. Okay, so great. You don't like that your husband does this, and this. What do you like that he does?
Right.
That changes the conversation.
Of course.
You know?
I thought one of the things that's also difficult with relationships in nightlife is dealing with jealousy. I mean, I don't even know why it exists, you know?
Jealousy?
Yeah. Like what's the point of it? You know what I mean? But and when I say that, I mean it as in I'm also a jealous person.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to control it. I mean, of course I'm gonna be jealous if my wife is doing anything that's gonna not make me feel well, whatever.
Yeah.
Talking to the wrong guy for the wrong reason. Whatever that may be.
How have you
in the end,
handled
it's
that?
me
How have
making
you
it up in my
handled
head,
it?
probably. Huh?
How have you handled it in the past?
Oh no, that's why you're here. Don't turn this around. She's gonna start the therapy right now.
I told you ask questions more
Let's
than
say, okay, so let's say with her, for example, if I'm jealous, I'll keep it in.
It goes on
first.
the radio. Goes, hey, you see that guy over there?
But when I realized that she actually rather hear me say that I'm jealous, I started telling her when I felt it. So I kind of let it out. If I felt something, I would tell her, and she'd just, it would be a better night for sure.
Just saying it, just telling
the fact
her.
that I told her
and not keeping it
would
inside.
make her feel good about the fact that I was feeling it. First of all,
it made her feel flattered.
It is flattering, knowing that somebody's feeling jealous of you.
And did she change anything after you said anything?
I actually like her being jealous, but you just want it at a certain level. You don't want it to be. We've been together 10 years. I don't want the first 2-year jealousy. What happened after that to me is amazing. I love how she is, how she learned to live with my work and understand it, meeting all the people that I work with and all that.
Of course.
But I'm sure it's hard for her. I know, she tells me all the time, I can't fall asleep, deep sleep, until you touch that bed, And I get home at 5 a.m. It's I know it's hard. She has to be up at 7:30. It's difficult to,
Yeah, no.
But even if I'm not out, I stay up late every night.
Is why
she already feels
biological
that if I'm not there in the bedroom, in the room, she won't fall asleep. I even walked in there sometimes, let her sleep, and then go back out and keep working. And I understand that because I know that this is a difficult business.
Yeah.
And when she met me, the stories about me were probably not anything compared to the person I am today. You know what I mean? But because I did start at 17 years old. You know what I mean?
Of course.
You do stupid
So
things.
you're saying it's shifted. The jealousy has shifted.
Yes.
It hasn't stayed the same as it was at the beginning. You guys have
for sure.
found some
and there
ways
was a
to
reason
deal with
at the
it.
beginning.
Communication has.
They found ways to deal with it. Yeah, I'm hearing you say we've talked about it more now. We know each other better now, and each of you have made changes to kind of accommodate to each other, right?
Right, but that's me. I'm talking about in general.
Well, that's
so that we don't talk about me anymore.
Well, we kind of boiled it down to, you've made some changes. You're communicating more about it.
By the way, thank you for opening up. All right?
That was a whole session for you.
There you go.
I will send you my bill.
There you go.
See, why'd you do that?
Got it.
But
But it is a big issue.
jealousy is a big issue for a lot of couples. Absolutely.
I think in the business we're in, we've been lucky, to find women who are understanding. And what you just pointed out, I think is a very key element to the success, because if you're holding it in just builds it up, right? And everything you hold in, you build it in, and it explodes one way or another.
Yeah, it'll come out somewhere.
So,
and it's interesting. So it's I say you can say anything. It's not what you say, it's how you're saying it.
It's how you say it.
So if you're saying, what are you doing talking to that guy? That is not going to probably go anywhere, and it's going to escalate it. But if you're feeling a certain way, and that's the way you're feeling, it's informing you of something. I'm jealous. Jealousy is a feeling. It's an emotion. It's not good. It doesn't feel good, and it's telling you something. You got to sit back and listen to it. What is it that it's telling me? It's telling me that I don't like she's talking to him, or is it, don't just react, respond to things, right? So
that's an advice.
That's an advice right there. And I'm saying it in general.
Yes.
But don't react to things, respond to things. What is that jealousy telling you? It could have been something that you inherited from your own family
and
background.
I wanted to talk about that.
It could be a cultural thing. It could be Yeah, it could be so many things. It could be something you know, culturally, this is something that jealousy was common, or you know, or maybe it was my past relationship that I needed to be mistrustful of, or maybe it's the industry that you're in. There's so many reasons why it's coming up.
Let me drop this bomb that a lot of people are not going to want if they're sitting in the car with somebody next to with their couple or whatever. Why do people cheat?
Why do people? For many reasons. People don't cheat for one reason. It can be for so many reasons. People cheat because they need emotional connection, or they're looking for lust, they're looking for escape, they're looking for freedom. Some, even happy couples cheat. Okay. So, you know, there's no one, you know, answer.
There's no psychological reason.
We have yet to diagnose. We have yet to find a label or a diagnosis for cheating.
So there's no way somebody's gonna go home and say, I cheated, but I got this from my doctor.
Exactly.
I've been diagnosed as a cheater.
What was Tiger Woods' issue, by the way?
Tiger Woods?
Yeah, he had some kind of, you know, like he was cheating, but he was a sex addict. It was a different thing.
Sex addict. He was diagnosed as that.
Right.
Okay.
A
lot of your clients, have you ever had anyone who's into the nightlife? Their wife is not.
No.
You know, they're kind of like, you know, opposites attract, and you identify that, you know, even though they're opposites attract and he's a nightlife person and you're so conservative, and is there a chance for that couple to?
I think there's always hope. I think if your therapist doesn't have hope for you, then you need a new therapist.
At the end of the day, is it love and affection?
There's so many ingredients.
Those two ingredients don't exist.
I think there's a lot of ingredients for couples to work. Major ones, like if you want...
When they're opposites attract?
I think most couples that I see are opposites. I've yet to meet, like, we're so the same. Like, I am a talker, I'm a people person, I love to be social. My husband's not. And for a long time, that was like, okay, you need to change, or I need to change. And then when we stopped having the problems and we accepted each other versus trying to change each other. Right. I think we need the yin and the yang. I think one person needs to be, I think also by the nature of a relationship, maybe I wasn't super organized, let's say, at a certain point, but then I married somebody that's not his strength at all. And so I had to kind of strengthen that to kind of balance each other out. I think in relationships, remember, we're a living organism. A society, a culture, a society, a family, and a couple is a living organism. So we adapt to each other. Right. So we start syncing with each other is because we've come to sync to each other. Like, I know, so let's say I'm a night owl, my husband is an early bird. So really quick, when we had kids, you got night shift, I got morning, you know?
That's one thing that would be extremely hard. Finding,
I feel like I'm an
early birds in this business. You know, if you're in this business and
your
the person
biological
you're
clock
with
changed.
is the opposite,
you got to think about it. Maybe they were, but then in the nature of the relationship fallen into a groove.
My wife loves the bed. You know, like she gets to stay in it only one day a week probably. Mm-hmm. And when I say in it, it's 9 a.m. You know what I mean? Like not, but you know, which is Sundays. But if anything,
most couples are opposites, and can opposites come together and make it work? Absolutely. It's about embracing each other's differences and realizing that each one is bringing a different strength to the relationship.
Do you find that a lot of the problems have been childhood problems? Like, do they go that back?
Yeah?
When you've been with couples where it just goes back to when they were children?
A lot of our formative years undeniably are a huge part of our experience is what makes us who we are. There's that argument, I'm sure you guys heard it, the nurture nature. Like, which one is it? Was it nurture? Was it nature? Is it my temperament? Is it my genetics? Is it? Right. And that argument is like, it's both. It's both. They're both, come together to your experiences, who you grew up around, the environment you were in. They create who you are. So you get this awesome opportunity when you grow up to say, hey, you know, I inherited all this stuff, like all this baggage kind of thing.
Right.
And that's what therapy does. It kind of unpacks that for you and says, what do you want to keep and what do you not want to keep? Like, maybe, you know, in your family of origin, that's what we'd call like our family. That was a very clinical term. In your family of origin, this is how you argued. This is how you addressed issues. Is that how you want to do it in this time? Like, you have choice.
So you have a chance.
And you have a chance to unpack that and say, I didn't like that, and I brought it with me, but I don't want it anymore. So okay, so now that you've identified it and you're willing to change it because you say you're willing to change it, now you got to put the work in, and that doesn't happen overnight.
Leaving our wives and our significant others aside for a second, there's another relationship that's important. In this business, it happens a lot. We have a lot of partners. You know, we do a lot of partnerships. Do you think that a partnership should be seen as the same as a marriage?
I was gonna say, your longest marriage is with Gia, isn't it?
Yeah, no.
How long have you been married?
That's how I see it. I mean, we've been together 23 years. And pretty much most of the things.
And your wife knows that and has to respect that.
That's why I'm glad we did not talk about sex today, because no, but you know what I mean. Like, but it's true. Like, our relationship, you know, like you have all those little arguments.
And it's evolved, right?
It evolved. 100%. You know,
your relationship.
Probably the one thing we never lived was that jealousy part. You know what I mean? And in the end, it makes it like
keep it real. Keep it real. You were jealous.
Yeah, no.
Had you gone to another partner, would you have been jealous?
Exactly. Like,
yes, you would have.
Probably would have happened.
It would have felt betrayal.
Of course. Of course.
So, absolutely, I think our partnerships with our business partners and our relationships have a lot of overlap. You could probably pick up another. I'm going to give another shout out to another one of the couples, like experts is John Gottman. He has like 1 million books on relationships. He has all the sciences behind what works and what doesn't work in a relationship. Right. So I don't know if we had time to go into that. But
how are we doing?
We're about there.
Oh, we can go. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, you could probably pick up one of John Gottman's books and change your spouse or wife or husband and just put the word partner. And a lot of the things that you know, I have a theory actually. And this is my theory.
Hey, you heard it here.
I'm going to prove it and see if it works or not.
Yes.
And I've told my clients this, I'm like, if we treated our loved ones at home, like our spouse, our kids, or whatever, our parents, our brothers and sisters, the way we treat our colleagues and our peers at work, we'd have a better home life relationship, because we're really we're very political at work, and you don't explode on people. And why wouldn't you explode on your boss? Well, because I don't want to lose my job. You know, well, do you want to lose your job as his wife or as his
That's until the
partner?
Day you say, I'm going to treat you like I do my employees, and you get home and you slap their ass. What?
No, that's another story. But I mean, like, let's say your boss, like somebody who has you know, a say in whether or not you keep your job. You know, you're very careful about what you say. If something's bothering you, you sit there days and days and think about how you're gonna say it before you even go into the office, right?
So,
like if you're gonna ask
and it's funny, like with your mom, like you know, with your mom you can react any way, and you just know she's gonna be your mom. And sometimes
it's hurtful.
You could you look back and you're like, you know what?
I should have thought about that. It goes back to don't react, respond. And if you
Mom,
sat down and you actually like said, okay, I'm going to think about how I'm going to say this so that I don't lose my job, because at the end of the day, that's your most important job in your life is this person's partner.
Do we react that way because we're so comfortable?
Yes, absolutely. So it's about comfort, and we get used to it, and we think we're entitled to acting that way, and it's wrong.
You don't fart in front of your boss.
It's the intimacy. Of course, it changes everything. But if you're more intentional about the way you address your partner, it's going to be a win-win for you, both of you. If you're intentional about, like, again, John Gottman will say there's something called a soft startup. how you begin your conversations is more likely how it's going to end. So if you come in and say, well, you did this and you did that and like this, and you're not starting soft. You're going hard from the get-go. But if you start soft and you stay there and you're like being intentional, the other person might escalate, but you're staying there in that place. Okay, you might even need a break because those habits are hard to break. That's why therapy is important.
Take that as your last tip.
So it's definitely, hey, a tip out there for you nightlifers. If you get home late and you have no excuse, don't go in there,
guns ablazing.
Yeah, you have to be humble and kind of like work.
Listen to each other.
Listen to each other and come in soft and know when you're wrong, right?
At the end of every episode, we do a little segment called The Night Father.
Okay.
And Mother. And we basically talk a little bit about being a parent, just the fact that we got a few kids of our own. We,
Are they listening?
as do you.
No, they're on their phone.
So we have not talked. We've talked about relationships with, our significant other and our partners, all that. But what about our kids?
Yeah.
Is there, if we are in this industry, is there anything that we can do to make our bond with our kids any stronger, any better?
Okay. So first, a question.
Yes.
Is there a concern that because you're of the nature of this industry that somehow you won't be?
Yes.
Okay,
the concern
concern?
is time, because they're usually number one, the time, which is anybody who's an entrepreneur in any type of business will not have the time for sure. But in this industry, you need to sleep at some point.
Yeah.
So if you get home at 5 a.m, you're probably not going to be up by the time your kid is leaving to school. When they get back, you're already out. So when do you really see them? So that's one thing for sure. And it's an issue. Like there will be days that go by.
Have you had anyone who? Because the tiger mom, will be the one that will point out to the father, hey, you're not home. You're not home. You're not spending time with your kids. Right?
Yeah.
That's another whole episode. Stay tuned.
And there's science to that. Women are more likely to bring up issues in the relationship than men. So it's their role.
Right.
So
exactly. That's
bring that a big important part of their role. We see it as nagging, but really there's a science behind if they don't bring it up, who's going to bring it up?
That's a defense, right?
I'm sure they bring it up for different reasons. You're saying in that case, she's trying to bring you closer to your children and creating that time with so she's like bridging you guys. So that's the reason she even brings it up. It sounds like, right?
Yeah.
And
so we need to make time
because
basically.
Because it's funny.
If the wife is nagging, it's for a reason.
So again,
when you're an entrepreneur, it's almost like you have to take that meeting. You have to do this. You have to do that. Yeah. And I think it's important. Definitely, it's important to make that time for your child. But have you had any clients where you feel that you have had to say something to that father or that mother, because there's a lot of entrepreneur females that I know
you need to make more time for your kid, kind of thing.
That the father's the dad, the mom. And it's kind of like, do you tell that person like, hey, listen, you have to really? Does that person have to stop, or is it more of a time management and just at the end of the day you just can't take it all in?
Yeah.
That's what I've had to do. I mean, on my side of things, I basically had to fix my schedule, change some things, stop doing some of the things that I was doing because
you saw it as a problem.
Exactly.
That you weren't.
Exactly.
So again,
and
it's
you
not
feel
a problem,
it yourself.
So it's a problem.
It's not like she had to nag about it. You know what I mean? Like you start missing your kid.
Yeah. Yeah, and you were able to make adjustments.
Yeah,
because of that.
Of course. So it's very important, I think, if if you guys are parents, make sure
the question is,
don't forget about that.
Time important? Yeah, of course. Time is important for their kids. Absolutely.
For those listeners out there,
absolutely.
That
and how you spend that time, because if you're going to be not engaged with your kid, then then don't be there.
That's another thing. And I've made that mistake, man.
What you're telling them is, I'm still not here.
Yeah, that's another.
Behavior is
because what happens if you are with your kid but you're on the phone?
Hey, if you're playing with them, leave this thing.
Behavior is
put
communication.
It away.
Behavior is communication. You are
behavior is communication.
You are
there will be time to read this later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Behavior is communication. How you spend your time with them, it makes a difference. If you're not paying attention to your kid, it doesn't matter if you're in the house. Really, actually, don't be there because, but at least they think dad's not here because he's working or whatever. Right. But if he's here and he's not paying attention to me, what is that really saying?
Right. There you go. Catalina Fortich.
Hey. You heard it, you saw it. She's the real deal.
Exactly.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
No, we want to thank you for
better people today.
Being here with us today.
Yes, thank you.
Definitely, it was very insightful. You know, there was definitely a lot more to cover for sure, and I'm sure we'll have you back at some point.
This will never end. The relationship conversation is one that never ends.
Where could they find you again if they want to reach out to you and get some counseling?
So, I also didn't mention. So I said my Instagram was Catalina Fortich. Catalina_Fortich_MS. They can. That's my Instagram.
And it's gonna be on the screen. So.
Okay. Right. And if they want to, they can also find me on. There's something called Psychology Today, which is like the yellow pages of psychology.
There you go.
So Catalina Fortich there, and that phone number will be there, and it also says every area that I'm of expertise because I'm not an expert in everything. So what I do have expertise in, you'll see it there. Right. So they can kind of do their homework. Perfect. Which is what I told them to do.
Awesome.
What about your handles?
Hey, follow me at Ico Taps Beer and at Doral Food and Wine Festival.
You can find me at the Nightlife Entrepreneur, and you can find LMG Miami also on Instagram, and to remember to go check us out on our website nightlifeentrepreneurs.com/podcast.
Thank you,
and also on YouTube, Spotify, Google Play, Facebook.
That's where we're at.
Automatic, everywhere. Nightlife
Show
Entrepreneurs.
Us love. Share us, next week, guys. Like us. See who we have next week. Are we cutting? Are we done?
We're always cutting and done.
I know.
But next week.
Who do we have next week?
Next week we're gonna be dancing.
Dancing? Oh yeah.
There's gonna be some
dance
finally.
From therapy to dancing. I love it. This is getting better.
Dancing is therapy.
Yes, for sure.
For sure.
Right. We'll see you next week.
It's very healing.